Hey there. Welcome. Tonight we're going to step into a story that isn't found in the pages of a novel or on the screen of a movie, but in the quiet corridors of your own mind. It begins not with a dragon to slay or a mountain to climb, but with something subtler, something hidden in plain sight. The beliefs you carry about who you are, what you deserve, and what is possible for you. These beliefs don't shout. They whisper. They hide behind your habits, your fears, your excuses. And yet, they shape the boundaries of your life more firmly than any iron bars. If you find this summary helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to BookSnap, and comment below the title of the book you'd like us to summarize next. We'll make it happen soon. Now let's step into the opening scene. Imagine yourself walking through a house you've lived in all your life. At first glance, it feels normal. The furniture is in familiar places, the windows let in a comfortable amount of light, and the walls seem solid. But then, as you look closer, you notice something odd. There are doors you've never opened, hallways you've never walked down, and some rooms are blocked by invisible barriers you can't seem to pass. You press against them, you knock on them, but they don't give way. So you shrug, turn around, and settle back into the same old space you've always known. That house is your mind. And those invisible walls? They are your beliefs. Beliefs like, I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. Money is evil. People can't be trusted. I'm just not the kind of person who can change. These statements aren't written in stone, but when accepted without question, they feel immovable. They become the architecture of your reality. You don't walk down certain paths in life, not because they aren't there, but because your subconscious has marked them off limits. Sooraj Achar begins by pointing out something most of us overlook. Our beliefs are not truths. They are decisions. Some we made consciously, most were handed to us by others. Parents, teachers, friends, culture, even moments of pain that etched themselves into our minds. And then, without realizing it, we built our entire existence on those foundations. If a child is told enough times that they are clumsy, their subconscious takes it as fact. Later, as an adult, they avoid opportunities that require grace, agility, or confidence. The cage closes tighter, and they forget it was ever open. You might think of beliefs as lenses. Imagine putting on a pair of glasses tinted blue. Everything you see, every face, every sky, every reflection is colored by that tint. After a while, you forget the glasses are even there. You just assume the world is blue. But what if the tint could be swapped? What if you could take off the glasses, or put on a new pair, and discover a whole spectrum of colors you never knew existed? That's the invitation this journey offers. To notice the glasses you've been wearing. To realize that the cage of your beliefs isn't made of steel, but of thought. And the moment you see that, a door begins to appear. It doesn't take years of struggle or endless searching. Sometimes it takes only 10 minutes of deliberate practice to begin loosening the bars, to start replacing one belief with another that serves you better. But first comes awareness. Achar insists on this. You cannot change what you cannot see. The first step is to pause and ask yourself, what do I actually believe about myself? Not what I hope to believe, not what I pretend to believe, but what my actions and fears reveal I truly believe. Maybe I say I want success, but deep down, I believe success isn't for people like me. Maybe I say I want love, but secretly believe I'm unworthy of it. These hidden convictions are the walls in that house. And here's the hardest truth. You have been living by them for so long that they feel natural. But they are not natural. They were planted. A careless comment, a painful failure, a cultural script, all of them leaving fingerprints on the soft clay of your subconscious. Over years, the clay hardened, and now those fingerprints feel like permanent grooves. Yet the mind is not stone. It is more like a garden. What was once planted can be uprooted. what was once barren can bloom. The cage of invisible beliefs is real, but it is not eternal. It bends to the gardener who tends it. Tonight, you are stepping into that role. You are not just the prisoner in the house, you are the architect. And soon, as we move deeper into this journey, you will see that with focus, with emotion, and with just 10 minutes of practice, you can begin rebuilding the house of your mind. Not with walls of fear, but with windows of possibility. Not with ceilings of doubt, but with skies that stretch open and endless. The story begins here, in the recognition that your beliefs are not who you are. They are patterns, and patterns can be changed. The cage has a door. The key is in your hand. Close your eyes for a moment and listen to the faintest voices that echo in your memory. They don't shout, they murmur. A parent sighing, "Be careful, you always make a mess." A teacher shaking their head, "You're not really the creative type." A friend joking, "You're never going to pull that off." At the time, those words might have seemed small, maybe even forgettable. But the subconscious does not forget. It takes every word, every glance, every pattern, and stores it like seeds in the soil of your mind. Over time, those seeds sprout, twine together, and become the vines that shape the way you move through life. Sooraj Achar calls this the whisper of conditioning. It begins before you can even spell your name. The family you grow up in has its own beliefs about money, love, success, failure, and worth. They might tell you, without realizing the weight of their words, that rich people are greedy, or that dreams are impractical, or that life is a struggle and nothing more. Those phrases lodge themselves inside, repeating quietly in the background, guiding your decisions without asking for permission. Think back on the choices you've made, the opportunities you passed on because you thought you weren't ready, the moments you held your tongue because you believed your opinion wasn't valuable, the times you sabotaged your own progress because a deeper voice whispered, "This isn't for you." Every one of those moments was influenced by beliefs you didn't choose. And the cruelest part? You probably thought you were being realistic. Conditioning isn't always born of malice. Sometimes it comes from love, from parents trying to protect you from disappointment, from teachers aiming to keep you grounded. But the subconscious does not discern intention. It records and obeys. Like a computer, it runs whatever program it is given. If the code says, "Play small to stay safe," then that's the script you follow, even as you grow older and your circumstances change. Picture a young child who dreams of being an artist. They spend hours drawing, coloring, imagining. But one day, an adult laughs at their picture and says, "That doesn't even look like anything." The child feels a sting of shame. They put the crayons away. The subconscious writes a note, "I'm not good at art." 10 years later, when they consider taking a design class, something inside resists. Not a loud objection, just a heaviness, a sense that it's not worth trying. That old note in the subconscious still whispers, guiding the child, now adult, away from a path they might have loved. This is how beliefs harden. You don't argue with them. You don't vote on them. You don't weigh the evidence. You simply absorb them and live as though they are true. And the more you act on them, the stronger they become. Each repetition deepens the groove, like footsteps carving a path through grass until it becomes a road. But here's the turning point. Once you see that these whispers are not your voice, the spell begins to break. You can question them. You can ask, whose belief is this? Where did it come from? Do I actually want to keep it? Most of the time, the answer is startling. That belief you thought was just the way things are might have been born from a single offhand remark decades ago. And yet, it has shaped your destiny. Achar emphasizes that the subconscious is obedient, not intelligent. It doesn't evaluate whether a belief is good or bad, true or false. It only repeats what it has been told, until you tell it something new. That means you are not broken. You are not doomed. You are simply running old code. And just like a computer program, code can be updated. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. Instead of seeing your reflection, you see a list of all the beliefs you've absorbed. I'm not confident enough. I don't deserve success. I can't change. Life is hard. They hang in the air like labels stuck to your skin. For years, you've been walking around with them without knowing they were even there. But now, you take a marker, and you cross out one. You write a new one over it. I am capable of change. That simple act, repeated with emotion and focus, begins to etch a new pattern in the subconscious. The whispers of conditioning are powerful, but they are not destiny. They are habits of thought. And like any habit, they can be unlearned. The key is awareness, the courage to notice them, and the willingness to replace them with something better. As you peel back the layers of conditioning, you realize you have been living in a story authored by others. The next step is daring to imagine. What if that story isn't the only one available? What if you could write your own? That spark of possibility, the moment you question the whispers, is the beginning of awakening. There comes a night when the whispers grow too loud to ignore. You may be sitting in a quiet room, the hum of a fan in the background, scrolling through your phone or staring at the ceiling, when it suddenly strikes you. What if everything I've believed about myself is not actually mine? That question doesn't arrive politely. It arrives like a crack in the ceiling of your old mental house, a hairline fracture that lets in a shaft of light. For the first time, you see dust dancing where there was only shadow before. Sooraj Achar calls this the moment of awakening. It is not dramatic on the outside. Nobody sees it happen. But inside, it feels like an earthquake. Up until now, you may have accepted your life as fixed. If you thought of yourself as shy, you avoided crowds. If you believed you weren't smart enough, you didn't raise your hand. If you carried the idea that you were destined to struggle, then every obstacle became proof that life was against you. It all seemed consistent. But when you ask that one question, are these really my beliefs or someone else's? Suddenly the consistency cracks. It's like watching an actor step out of character. For years you've been playing a role, believing the costume was your skin. You walk the stage with the script handed down by family, culture, and past failures. But now you feel the edges of that script, and you realize you can put it down. This is not who you are. It is who you learn to be. The moment of awakening is uncomfortable. It shakes the foundation of certainty. If your old beliefs are not unshakable truths, then what is? If you are not limited in the way you thought, then what else have you been wrong about? Doubt, once seen as an enemy, becomes a doorway. The very act of questioning opens a space where change can slip in. Achar explains that this instant, this spark of awareness, is precious. Most people live their entire lives inside the old house, never noticing the invisible walls. To see the walls at all is the beginning of freedom. But awareness is not enough. It is like noticing the bars of a cage. Unless you act, you remain inside. The mind is clever, and it will try to pull you back into old patterns. It will whisper, "Don't overthink it. This is just who you are." Stop questioning. That is when you must stay awake, hold on to the crack of light, and refuse to look away. Think of it as standing at a crossroads in the forest at night. One path is well-worn, familiar, leading back to the place you've always been. The other is overgrown, uncertain, disappearing into the dark. Your old beliefs push you toward the familiar path, insisting it's the only safe way. But now you see the other trail. You can feel something calling you forward, even if you don't know where it leads. The awakening is not walking the new path yet. It is realizing the path exists. And here is where the story deepens. You begin to understand that your beliefs are not just private thoughts. They ripple outward into every part of your life. They color how you see opportunities, how you treat others, even how you carry yourself. A belief of unworthiness can close doors before you even touch the handle. A belief of abundance can make those same doors swing wide. The world does not change. Your perception does. And perception shapes reality. Achar invites you to hold on to this awakening like a fragile flame. At first it flickers. Doubt and fear will try to blow it out. But if you shield it, feed it, nurture it, the flame grows. It becomes a torch, bright enough to guide you. With that torch, you can begin exploring the hidden hallways of your inner house, shining light on the labels and scripts you once accepted blindly. You can begin to ask, what if I don't believe this anymore? What if I choose differently? The moment of awakening is not the end of your struggle, but it is the end of being asleep. It is the first step toward reclaiming authorship of your story. You no longer mistake the whispers of conditioning for your own voice. You no longer take every old script as truth. And once that separation is made, once you know you are not your beliefs, you are ready for the next step, to learn how quickly, how deliberately, you can change them. Awakening gives you sight, but sight alone will not move the walls. The next realization arrives almost like a secret whispered in your ear. You do not need years to begin rewriting your beliefs. You need only a small window of time, 10 minutes, carved out of your day like a hidden passage behind the bookshelf. Sooraj Achar calls this the 10-minute window, and it is both startling and liberating. Think about how much time we casually spend. 10 minutes scrolling through messages, 10 minutes standing in line, 10 minutes replaying an argument in our heads. Those fragments of time vanish without notice. And yet, in the same span, you could begin to reprogram the code running your life. 10 minutes is short enough that excuses crumble. It doesn't require a retreat in the mountains or a lifetime of discipline. It requires a decision. I will give myself these moments, and I will use them well. The subconscious mind is most pliable in brief, focused states. It is not about long lectures or endless journaling. It is about slipping past the noise of the conscious mind, past the defenses that normally protect the old beliefs, and planting a new seed directly in the soil of the subconscious. 10 minutes of undistracted presence repeated daily creates more change than hours of scattered effort. HR paints it like learning to play an instrument. If you practice the piano for 10 minutes every day, within weeks your fingers begin to move differently. The keys feel less foreign. A song emerges. The same is true of beliefs. Spend 10 minutes every day rehearsing a new identity, and soon the subconscious accepts it as familiar, as natural, as true. Picture yourself setting aside this window. You close the door, silence the phone, and let the world wait. For these 10 minutes, nothing else matters. You are not a worker, not a parent, not a friend or partner. You are simply a mind, tuning itself, adjusting its frequency. The practice is not about straining, but about choosing focus, about entering a state where suggestion becomes possibility. This window is powerful precisely because it is small. The mind resists big change, but it relaxes when the task feels manageable. 10 minutes feels safe. The subconscious opens its gates, and in that opening, you can begin to rewrite. One belief at a time, one image at a time, one word at a time. And when you realize that 10 minutes is enough to begin, something inside you shifts. The cage you thought would take a lifetime to escape suddenly has a key you can turn in the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. The walls may not vanish instantly, but you can feel them loosen. You can hear the hinges creak. Freedom stops being a dream and starts being a practice. This is the promise. You do not need to wait for a perfect moment, a grand transformation, or a lightning strike of inspiration. You need only 10 minutes, used with intention. And in those minutes, you will learn the tools to step beyond the old story and begin creating the new one. You sit in the quiet of your 10-minute window, and at first, it feels strange. The mind, used to rushing, fidgets. Thoughts chatter like restless birds. But then you begin the practice that Sooraj Achar describes as mental rehearsal. Imagine an actor preparing for a role. They don't simply memorize lines on paper. They live them. They step into the character's skin, walk their walk, breathe their breath, until the body itself begins to respond as though the fiction were reality. Your subconscious cannot tell the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is actually happening. This is its secret. When you picture yourself standing on a stage, speaking with confidence, and you feel your chest expand with the pride of owning the room, the subconscious accepts it as truth. It files away the sensation as if you already lived it. Over time, those imagined experiences begin to compete with the old memories of failure, and eventually, they overwrite them. Think of an athlete before a game. You've seen them close their eyes, headphones on, rocking slightly as if moving through the play before it happens. They are rehearsing. Their muscles fire in tiny twitches, neurons lighting up as though the game were already unfolding. This is not fantasy. This is training. The brain builds pathways whether the action is physical or imagined, and those pathways become the new routes the subconscious runs when the moment arrives. Achar suggests beginning with a single belief you want to reshape. Maybe it's, "I am not confident." In your 10 minutes, you don't argue with that belief. You don't fight it. You simply begin painting a new picture. You see yourself entering a room with shoulders back, making eye contact, speaking with ease. You feel the warmth of connection, the laughter of others, the calm that flows through you. You let yourself experience the scene until it feels alive, until your body responds with a spark of energy or a release of tension. That emotional imprint is the rehearsal. At first, it might feel forced. You might feel silly. But the subconscious doesn't care. It records. Day after day, you return to that rehearsal. Each time the picture grows sharper, the emotions more real. And then one day, in a real-world situation, your body responds differently. You walk taller without thinking about it. You speak up without rehearsing. The subconscious has accepted the new code. This is the power of mental rehearsal. It allows you to live a new belief before it manifests in reality. It is like sketching blueprints before building a house, or practicing scales before composing a song. The practice is not the performance, but without it, the performance never comes. Imagine an old record player. The needle has been stuck in the same groove for years, playing the same scratchy tune of doubt. Each time you rehearse a new belief, you lift the needle and set it on a fresh groove. At first, the sound wobbles. But keep repeating, and soon the music flows smoothly. The song of your life changes. What matters most is not perfection, but consistency. 10 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow, 10 minutes the day after. Small rehearsals that compound into transformation. The old beliefs weaken because they are no longer rehearsed. The new ones strengthen because they are practiced daily. Your subconscious, once a stubborn guard of the cage, begins to act as an ally, unlocking doors and guiding you down hallways you once thought were forbidden. The stage is set, the lights are warm, the script is in your hands. But this time, you are not repeating someone else's lines. You are writing your own. Each rehearsal etches your chosen beliefs deeper into the mind, until one day, you don't need to imagine anymore. You are living it. As the rehearsals deepen, something becomes clear. Thought alone is not enough. You can picture yourself confident, successful, free. But if your heart feels nothing, the images fade like chalk washed away by rain. Sooraj Achar emphasizes this truth. Beliefs change when emotion is tied to them. Emotion is the secret switch. The subconscious listens for feeling more than words. Words are instructions, but emotions are the ink they are written in. Say to yourself, "I am worthy without emotion," and the phrase drifts off like smoke. Say it while summoning the deep warmth of a time you truly felt loved, and the subconscious captures it, presses it into memory, and begins to treat it as real. Think of it like planting a seed. The visualization is the seed itself, but emotion is the water and sunlight. Without emotion, the seed lies dormant, buried in the soil, never sprouting. With emotion, the seed swells, cracks open, and reaches for the surface. The stronger the feeling, the faster it grows. Close your eyes and imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind rushing past, the horizon stretching wide and golden. Now imagine leaping, not with fear, but with exhilaration, the kind that lights your chest on fire. That feeling, that electricity in your body, is the charge that tells the subconscious, this is important. Remember this. Every time you attach strong emotion to a new belief, you stamp it deeper into your mental blueprint. Achar explains that negative beliefs thrive because they are wrapped in strong emotion. When you were shamed as a child, you felt a flood of embarrassment. That feeling sealed the belief. When you failed at something important and felt crushed, that despair anchored the thought, I can't do this. It was never the event alone that carved the groove. It was the emotion surrounding it. The same law applies in reverse. If you want to rewrite the belief, you must generate the emotion that makes it stick. That's why 10 minutes of practice matters. In those minutes, you are not just saying words or imagining pictures. You are summoning the feeling that matches the new belief. You are teaching the subconscious what truth should feel like. Consider someone who has always believed money is scarce. They grew up hearing arguments about bills, feeling tension at the dinner table when finances came up. Scarcity is not just a thought for them. It is a feeling lodged in the body. To reprogram that belief, they must not only visualize abundance, but also feel the relief, the joy, the freedom that abundance brings. In those 10 minutes, they imagine opening their wallet and feeling gratitude instead of fear, paying for something with ease, giving freely without pain. The emotion seals the new belief into place. It is not about pretending, it is about practicing. The subconscious does not require proof in the form of external evidence. It requires internal experience, and you can generate that experience on command. The brain cannot distinguish between a vividly felt visualization and reality. It encodes both the same way, which means you can use emotion to trick your own mind into adopting beliefs that lift you higher. Imagine again that house of your mind. For years, the walls of the cage have pulsed with the echo of old emotions: fear, shame, doubt. Now, in your 10-minute window, you flood those walls with new sensations: courage, gratitude, joy. Slowly, the vibrations change. The walls weaken, the atmosphere shifts, and the house feels lighter, more open. Emotion is the current that electrifies the new code. Without it, belief change is slow. With it, transformation accelerates. This is the secret switch Achar wants you to flip, the hidden lever that turns imagination into reality. Because when your subconscious feels the new belief, it begins to act on it. And when it acts on it, your life begins to change in ways that once seemed impossible, seemed impossible, seemed impossible, seemed impossible. There is a language you've been speaking to yourself all your life, though you may not have noticed it. It's not the words you share with friends or the sentences you write on a page. It's the stream of inner dialogue that never stops. The quiet commentary, the labels, the judgments. Sooraj Achar calls this the language of the mind. And like any language, it shapes the world you live in. Imagine waking each morning and hearing the same phrases on repeat. I'm tired. I'm behind. I'm not good enough. They might sound like passing thoughts, but to the subconscious, they are commands. The subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't laugh. It doesn't question. It records and obeys. Each word is taken literally. etched like code into the system. Over time, those phrases become the operating software of your identity. Words are not harmless. They are instructions. Think of them as brush strokes painting the walls of that mental house. Whisper enough times that life is hard, and the walls darken until every room feels smaller. Tell yourself often that you are unlucky, and the house begins to tilt in ways that make doors stick and windows fog over. The language you use inside your own head creates the climate you live in, but if words can trap you, they can also free you. This is where affirmations, mantras, and intentional self-talk come in, not as empty slogans, but as deliberate rewrites of the code. When you speak a new belief with conviction, you hand the subconscious a fresh line of instruction. At first, it resists. It clings to the old script, muttering, "That's not who you are." But if you repeat the new phrase, attach emotion to it, and practice it in your 10-minute window, the subconscious eventually accepts it. The old line of code fades, overwritten by the new. Picture a river carving its way through rock. For years, water has flowed down the same channel, deepening the groove. That's your old self-talk. But if you begin to guide the water elsewhere, even if at first it's just a trickle, the new channel deepens. With time, the river shifts course. Your words are that water. Where you direct them is where your mind will carve its path. Achar gives a simple exercise. Write down a belief you want to change, then write its opposite in clear present tense language. If the old belief is "I always fail," the new one becomes "I succeed at what I commit to." For 10 minutes, you repeat it. Not like a chant, but like a conversation with yourself. You imagine how it feels to live that truth. You let your body respond. Each word, soaked in emotion, becomes a hammer tapping at the walls of the cage. And here's the part many miss. It isn't only about what you say, but about what you no longer say. Pay attention to the casual phrases that slip out of your mouth. "I'm terrible at remembering names." "I'm just unlucky." "That always happens to me." Each one is a quiet reinforcement of the old story. Awareness allows you to catch them, pause, and choose differently. Instead of saying "I'm terrible with names," you might say, "I'm learning to remember names better every day." It seems small, but to the subconscious, it's a new instruction, and it begins adjusting accordingly. The language of the mind is the script of your life. You've been speaking it unconsciously for years. But now, with awareness, you hold the pen. Each word is a brick in the new house you are building. Each phrase is a window you choose to open or close. When you speak to yourself with clarity, strength, and possibility, the subconscious listens, records, and obeys. And slowly, the story you tell yourself becomes the story you live. Fear is clever. It doesn't always roar like a lion. Often it whispers like an echo, guiding you back into the same old patterns. You might recognize it in the hesitation before you speak up, in the knot in your stomach before you try something new, in the quiet voice that says, "What if you fail?" Sooraj Achar describes fear as the loop that keeps old beliefs alive. Each time you listen to it, the loop strengthens. Each time you retreat, the groove deepens. Imagine walking in circles inside a maze. You trace the same path over and over, not because the exit doesn't exist, but because fear keeps pulling you back before you reach it. Fear isn't the wall itself. It's the guard posted at the gate, convincing you it's safer not to try. The belief, "I can't do this," becomes tied to the fear. "If I try, I'll get hurt." Together, they form a cycle. The belief feeds the fear feeds the belief. Round and round you go. The way out is not to fight the fear, but to step outside the loop. Achar suggests that in your 10-minute window, you deliberately bring the fear into focus. Instead of running from it, you look it in the eye. You name it. "I am afraid of rejection. I am afraid of failing again. I am afraid of being seen." Naming the fear pulls it from the shadows into the light. And when fear is seen, it begins to lose its power. Then comes the replacement. You don't simply stare at the fear. You choose a new image, a new feeling, a new belief. You visualize yourself facing the situation that once triggered the loop, but this time, you imagine responding differently. You see yourself calm, strong, present. You feel the relief of moving through it. You let the body register that survival is possible, even without retreat. Think of a child learning to ride a bike. The first fall hurts, and fear whispers, "Don't try again. You'll just fall." If the child listens, the bike stays in the garage forever. But if the child climbs back on, shakily, heart pounding, and pushes forward, something shifts. The loop breaks. The fear no longer controls the story. Your subconscious is like that child. It remembers the pain of the fall, and it wants to protect you by avoiding risk. But through focused practice, through those small rehearsals charged with emotion, you teach it a new pattern. You show it that not every attempt ends in pain. You create experiences, real in feeling, even if imagined, that prove safety and success are possible. And slowly, the loop unwinds. In your mental house, fear is the echo that kept you in one wing, circling the same narrow rooms. But now, you found a way to quiet the echo. You pause, you listen, you name it. And then, with deliberate focus, you open a door and step into the hallway beyond. The loop is not broken all at once, but each step forward weakens its grip. Each rehearsal builds new courage. And soon, the guard at the gate has no power over you. Fear once chained your beliefs in place, but it is not the master of your mind. It is only a voice. And voices can be replaced. In 10 minutes a day, you can teach your subconscious to hear a different tone. A voice that whispers, not warnings, but encouragement. A voice that says, yes, you can. Once the whispers of fear begin to fade, a new question rises. If I am no longer the person shaped by old conditioning, then who do I want to become? This is where the journey turns from dismantling to designing. Sooraj Achar describes it as crafting a new identity. Not a mask, not a pretense, but a conscious choice about the story you will live inside. Think of it like renovating that house of your mind. For years you've been tearing down walls, pulling up cracked floorboards, clearing away the dust of beliefs that no longer serve you. Now, the space is open. The question is not just what to remove, but what to build. What colors will you paint the walls? What windows will you open? What kind of home will you create for your thoughts to live in? Identity is not a fixed inheritance. It is an ongoing design. Yet most people treat it as if it were carved in stone. I'm just not that kind of person. I've always been this way. Achar insists this is another illusion. The subconscious accepts whatever blueprint you hand it. If you feed it the design of a confident, creative, disciplined person, it will quietly begin rearranging your actions to match. If you give it no design, it will recycle whatever scraps of belief it has collected from your past. In your 10-minute practice, this is where you begin to embody the new self. Close your eyes and see the version of you who already lives the beliefs you desire. If the old belief was, I'm powerless, then the new identity is, I am capable of shaping my world. You don't simply think the sentence. You picture yourself walking into a room with that energy. You feel it in your posture, your voice, your choices. You imagine how this new self spends the morning, how they respond to setbacks, how they treat others. You step inside the role, just as an actor steps into character, until it feels less like pretending and more like remembering. This design is not about perfection. It is about alignment. When the new identity matches the beliefs you are rehearsing, the subconscious aligns your behavior with it. If you believe you are disciplined, you begin to act disciplined. If you believe you are worthy, You begin to treat yourself as worthy. The outer actions flow from the inner identity. Achar warns, though, that designing a new identity requires more than words. It requires consistency. One blueprint drawn once will not change the structure of a house. But redraw it every day, reinforce it with feeling, and soon the walls rise, the rooms take shape, the atmosphere transforms. Each 10-minute session is a stroke of the architect's pen, a line added to the design of the life you are building. Imagine standing before a mirror again. This time, instead of old labels, you see the reflection of who you are becoming. Stronger, calmer, freer. You feel the resonance of that image in your chest. You don't need to force it. You simply let the subconscious absorb it, like soil taking in rain. Day after day, the identity grows roots. The more you embody it in practice, the more natural it feels in life. Designing a new identity is not about escaping who you are. It is about uncovering the self you were meant to be before the whispers, before the conditioning, before the fear. It is about trading chains for wings. And when the subconscious accepts this design, you no longer have to fight to act differently. The actions flow because they are aligned with who you believe yourself to be. The house of your mind is no longer a cage. It is becoming a home you chose, a place where you can move freely, where every room reflects the life you are building. The design is yours now. And in the next step, you'll discover how those 10-minute windows, repeated day after day, can turn sketches into stone and dreams into lived reality. There comes a morning when you wake and the air feels different, though the sky outside has not changed. You rise, not with the old heaviness of yesterday's beliefs, but with a quiet steadiness. You walk to the mirror, and for the first time, you do not automatically scan for flaws. You notice your own eyes, clear and alive. You see not just who you were, but who you have become. This is the point Sooraj Achar calls living beyond the old story. The process has not been about erasing the past. The whispers of conditioning, the loops of fear, the scars of old failures. They are still part of your history, but they are no longer the author of your identity. They sit on the shelf like old books you no longer need to reread. You glance at them sometimes, remembering the lessons they carried, but you do not mistake them for truth. You've chosen a different story, and now you live inside it. It is a subtle shift, yet it changes everything. Opportunities that once felt unreachable now appear within grasp, and you step toward them without hesitation. Conversations that used to silence you now open into connection, because the belief my voice matters has taken root in your subconscious. Choices that once terrified you now feel like natural steps, because your identity has been rewritten. I am capable. I am worthy. I am free. Imagine returning to that mental house one final time. The invisible walls are gone. The hallways stretch wide and open, the doors unblocked. Sunlight pours through windows you never knew existed. The air smells fresh. The rooms hum with energy. You walk freely from space to space, designing, creating, shaping. It no longer feels like a cage. It feels like home. And this home belongs to you, not to the voices of the past, not to the fear of failure, not to the doubts that once ruled you. Achar emphasizes that this freedom is not a distant dream. It is a daily practice. 10 minutes remains your anchor, your compass, your reminder. Each session is both maintenance and expansion, keeping the walls open, the windows clear, the foundation strong. The mind will always try to recycle old patterns, but now you know the secret. You are the architect, not the prisoner. You hold the pen, not the script. You control the language, the rehearsals, the emotions that build the blueprint of your life. Beyond the old story lies a new one that grows each day you return to the practice. And as you live it, others begin to notice. They see the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you act. They sense the freedom in your presence, and without trying, you become a mirror for them. Your story whispers a new possibility into their subconscious. If they can change, maybe I can too. This is the true ripple of reprogramming beliefs. It is not only your cage that disappears, it is the cages of those who watch you, who feel your transformation, who realize that their whispers too can be rewritten. Your 10 minutes becomes more than a practice. It becomes a torch, lighting the path not only for yourself, but for anyone who dares to step into the light. So the story ends where it began, in the quiet of your own mind. But now the house is different. The voice inside is different, and you are different. 10 minutes at a time, you have turned whispers of doubt into declarations of strength. You have replaced fear with courage, scarcity with abundance, shame with worth. The old story no longer binds you. You live beyond it, free to choose, free to create, free to become. And as you move forward, remember this: the power was never outside you. It was always here, in the space between your thoughts, waiting for you to listen, to decide, to believe, to believe, to believe.